Zac Jackson with us now. Zac, you heard us discussing are you buying into Jordan Schultz's report that it seems to be down to Udinski and Shieldhouse?
Yeah, I mean, to a large extent, yes.
Yeah.
I think it always made sense, right? And I was always in support for what little input we get, right?
Yeah.
Go find your own McVay, go find your own Shanahan. When you look at everything, that's who's winning, and you're in this situation. So different ways to go about it, and it really comes down to how they go about fixing this offense.
Right.
But for this situation and for really looking down the road, I think you can see that being a first step into a lot of dots that need to be connected.
Shieldhouse of the two, has the better. He's a little older. He has more of a track record. He comes from McVay and Matt Campbell, of course.
Yeah.
So I like him the best. But do you have a preference between the two?
Well, he only has 2 years of NFL experience. And he was not the lowest guy on the totem pole his first year at the Rams, like Udinski was when he broke in, but he was pretty far down there. So that is the holdup with both of those guys, right? It's just lack of experience. I mean, even Udinski only had assistant titles until the Jaguars hired him as offensive coordinator.
Right. Yep.
So why are you going there? Well, look at their bosses, Liam Cohen. Kevin O'Connell was Udinski's boss before he went there. This is the road that these guys went, and so you're trying to find the next one.
Do you believe they are equipped to handle what's coming? Because you in the room, you know what's coming. Hey, after this draft come, you're 30 years old. This about to be the hottest summer in the history of the Browns. You know it, Zach.
You're not supposed to ask me easy ones. No, I don't believe they're equipped.
But
you hire them believing that you'll get there, that they can grow into the job, right? If you hire Schwartz or someone else, you're saying we absolutely should be better than we are.
Yes.
We want to win right now, and we have to, and we seize this opportunity. If you hire these guys, you're saying they're going to grow into the role, and we as a roster has a lot of growing to do on the offense.
You have to be real patient. You can't be no rush to fire those guys.
Well, I don't know about real patient, but I mean not 6 months.
Yeah, well, sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ty.
So two things. Jim Schwartz, you think he's okay with just being the DC?
I don't know that he is. I mean, you would think, and I heard you guys talking about this to an extent, you would think there's been enough in there. By the time you have a second interview with a guy who's been in your building for 3 years, what are you asking him? One, are you sure you want to be here?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Do you need help?
Right.
But secondly, you're asking him, what do you think? You were a head coach before. What will be different? What needs to be different at the same time? And it was long ago in a galaxy far, far away when he was a head coach. But that's what you're asking. You know him. And look, Jim Schwartz is the best hire this organization has made in many years. Yeah. That's why he's on the interview list. That's why you want to keep him. But does he? What are realistic other opportunities? I don't know.
Yeah.
Kevin Stefanski took an arranged marriage with a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Other guys feel like they have their guy. Schwartz is not for everybody. Right? He has his style. He has his style of defense that works. My one holdup with him being the head coach is, would you be taking away what he's best at, which is calling a defense,
good point.
And drive to drive, getting the defense.
And if he is the head coach, who? I mean,
still call the plays.
I mean,
maybe
Todd Bowles.
Is there a guy? Is there a guy on the staff that he is like? His
Jason
right-hand
Tarver,
man?
his linebackers coach, has some coordinator experience. I mean, you could see that making a move. Maybe he has somebody from his past he would want to bring in.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it comes down to titles with getting guys. So I don't think this is panic button, but the longer the Browns wait, the harder it is to get the better assistants.
That's true.
That's another thing. Udinski is going to Buffalo. They've already said that Shieldhouse is has been with Baltimore, and they obviously got to wait to the end of the game to get him with the Rams because they're still playing. If they sitting around chilling and hanging out, trying to wait on these dudes, what if Udinski gets a job somewhere else? Now it's just Shieldhouse. Now you're competing with Shieldhouse with the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, I mean, I don't, there are guys out there who haven't interviewed with the Browns. Chris Shula he had 36 hours to do his coaching interviews. He took ones, there were other places. His first wave, right?
Oh, okay.
Could you circle back to him? Could you circle back to Sean McDermott? I don't know where it stands with these guys.
That's true.
But there are options. The problem is, Garrett, they need to do 2 in-person renewal interviews. So they can't hire a guy today, right? So Baltimore could hire Jesse Minter tomorrow if they wanted. And a lot of people think that that's what's going to happen. He's interviewing in Cleveland today. It's his third in 3 days. So Shieldhouse is considered a candidate in Pittsburgh. He would be considered a candidate with the Raiders, which with the number 1 pick might be considered a better job than this. But we'll see. I think today's Thursday. I think by next Wednesday we'll have a better idea. But you can't officially hire Shieldhouse if the Rams go to the Super Bowl.
Really
you
quick,
can interview him next Tuesday.
So, Rooney Rule wise, is who we gonna see? Gerard Mayer or Antonio Pierce? Or Deion Sanders?
Boy,
I don't think they would go.
boy,
Somebody asked me about that
Boy.
on the podcast.
Right, I want to see
Yeah.
because it's like
Now,
at
Tyvis.
this point it's like obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could see Raheem Morris. You could see Deuce Staley, who's already in the building. You could see something like that.
oh, that's nasty word.
Do you,
But
think,
hey,
do you think it's like seen as like a disrespect?
I think that's the obvious way to say it. But let me say this, like with Mike McDaniel, I don't think it's necessarily like the worst thing in the world. Like Mike McDaniel had this opportunity to go coach Justin Herbert. We don't know if Mike McDaniel just didn't want to be a head coach again. We don't know if he didn't want to use his last shot on this situation.
Right,
we don't know if he thought the Browns already had somebody hired. It's probably some combination of the three.
Yeah.
So my reaction is just, it's like with a rookie quarterback. When he plays a game, and Garrett, and you go on Sunday night, it's not put him in Canton or fire him right away. This is a step. So when a candidate turns you down, like he had a good opportunity, everybody would agree the Chargers offensive coordinator is a good opportunity. What layers of that, and probably layers multiple, we don't know, and it doesn't matter. He chose that. It just put the Browns in a bad spot because they left themselves with that thing. And if Shieldhouse wants the Steelers job, he doesn't have to talk to the Browns next week.
That's true.
right.
Good point.
Will we know next week if he declines the Browns?
We'll know next week, but I mean, his agent is handling this for him. But Sunday night, when they win or lose, and then they go back to LA, like then he's got to make his decisions on who he's really going to talk to. And if the Browns are third on his list, they might not get the interview.
They gonna lose. Go Hawks.
Yeah. I mean, there's still going to be a name or two maybe that's off the radar that ends up, whether it's the Browns or somebody else. I mean, the fact that we have 6 open coaching jobs 3 days before the championship game is crazy. I don't think it's ever happened.
People assume Minter's going to get a job.
Right.
People assume Shula is going to get a job.
You think Daboll ends up in Buffalo?
I think it fits there. He wasn't really getting nibbles anywhere else, which I understand, but it fits there. Like he is the guy that helped raise Josh Allen to where he was. He knows that organization, and you made that move because Josh Allen has not gotten to a Super Bowl.
Right.
So that fits there. But what are they going to think about Udinski? Who else do they want to talk to? I don't know. I mean, as of last night, Sean McDermott hadn't talked to anyone, right?
Right, I haven't heard much about him.
And sometimes it goes for these guys, they're candidates, and then they're just not. And maybe they were only interested in 1 or 2 jobs. Like, I read it completely wrong with Stefanski. What did he do, 5 interviews? Like, I thought he would maybe do 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It did work out for him, but, like, you just don't know what they're thinking. Harbaugh ultimately said he would talk to 3. He talked to 2. He took the 1 immediately. You don't know. Maybe Chris Shula, maybe he really only had 36 hours, or maybe he was never considering the Browns.
Right.
And then if it doesn't work out with the 2 teams that he was considering, does he just go back to the Rams, or does does he circle back to the Browns?
Let me ask you this: we get the news that Tommy Reese is going to Atlanta, right? Like, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, they just ran back the whole offense. No,
they didn't get Chad O'Shea.
Well, they didn't get Chad O'Shea.
They got better talent, though.
But so are they banking on So basically, this is coming down to a showdown. They telling you that it's the roster and the roster construction, and they are saying we're doubling down on what we feel like we are offensive.
I think it's a fair way to look at it. I don't think it's a 100% accurate way to look at it. I think we've been talking for months about how it was roster construction versus coaching. But he got Bill Callahan as offensive line coach. He didn't have that here.
That's different.
2 years, right? I mean, he's saying I trust in Tommy Reese, but let's be honest. Tommy Reese was a tight ends coach who had another title to get him there. Like, he's just young in his career. He's rising up.
Yeah.
This is not a guy who's done this 10 years in the NFL or in 6 different places.
Yeah.
Like, the Browns were his first NFL job. So, in a way, you're saying that, Garrett, but I don't think it was like always it has to be this and I'm running it back with this staff. I think it's how it worked out, and I think Kevin always envisioned, if I get a job, I'm getting Bill Callahan. And I'm sure that was talked about in the interview.
Absolutely. And by the way, if the Falcons' offense is better than the Browns, which it very likely will be, that doesn't mean the Browns did the wrong thing in firing Stefanski.
Sure.
The Falcons have way more talent on offense. I don't know how good their offensive line is. I'm not sure.
It was middle of the pack.
All right, but middle of the pack's way higher than what the Browns was. They've got Drake London, who's better than anybody the Browns have.
They got Pitts.
Bijan Robinson might be the best back in the league.
Yeah, they got guys.
Pitts is a free agent, but
they're going to resign.
Well, when Kevin Stefanski becomes the head coach, tight ends go back.
He's about to get direct snaps, reverses. He's going to return punts.
We're going to dive into that in a sec. Zach, before we get into the Stefanski versus Andrew Berry part of this, we talked yesterday about it was an ESPN article, bold predictions, potentially Malik Willis coming to Cleveland. Whether it's Malik Willis or somebody else, do you believe the Browns will make some sort of change to their quarterback room, or are we going to run it back next year with Deshaun, Shador, and Dillon?
Well, I think exploring that is just as high up on the list as hiring a head coach. Obviously, you have to hire the head coach first, but I think exploring that is mandatory.
Yeah.
I do think it will happen. I think Malik Willis has probably priced himself out of the Browns with the way he played here at the end of the year. I mean, if you're going to give a guy a commitment and now he's earned that, you've got to worry. Like, you're paying Watson for 3 more years. Like they have done this to themselves. So I do think they're going to explore every avenue with Malik Willis, with Mac Jones. Is it going to work out? Do those guys want them? I don't know. With Mac Jones, it's who makes the best trade to the Niners. They say they're going to do right by Mac. With Malik Willis, it's unrestricted free agency. There's a difference.
Yeah, I'm just surprised Malik Willis is going to get so much money. He didn't
Malik
play a
Willis
lot.
was in the 22 draft. So the Browns looked at the 22 draft and said, we don't want anything to do with this. We're trading for Watson. They ended up with Kenny Pickett last year for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Now he's back in. But that's how old Malik Willis is, 22 draft. Mac Jones is, 27 or 28? He was in the 21 draft as a very young guy.
And he's played, 6 games?
I feel like something like that.
This all comes full circle, Bull, not to cut you off.
No,
but
it's fine.
the discussion's going to be about Ty Simpson, only being a 1-year starter.
Right.
That was Mac Jones, too.
Yeah,
and now he's in, it hasn't worked in 2 or 3 different places, and now he's in demand. So all of these decisions, every guy that's in the draft matters. If Chambliss is in the draft or not, that matters. What is the value for Mac Jones and what is your level? It all matters because eventually you have to get it right, and obviously sooner than later.
Isn't it funny that Chambliss, you had Maurice Clarett fighting to get into the NFL. Chambliss is fighting to not go to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chambliss is probably going to be about 5'11" when it happens.
Oh, gosh.
About 5'10" and some change.
Yeah.
I think he got a lot of little DTR, slight of frame. But here's what I will say.
Yeah, he was playing at Fair State 2 years ago.
I mean, he should want to. He's going to get a guaranteed another bag of some millions.
Yeah.
Right, and an offense that works for him.
And then put yourself in contention to have some more tape out there. Is your gut feeling, is it more likely the Browns will draft a quarterback late or somewhere or make a move for free agent?
So this is just gut feel. I believe that the Browns will trade Dillon Gabriel, and I believe they will draft a quarterback somewhere in the 30 to 60 range, and then they will go forward with Shador, Watson, and that new quarterback. But
30 to
this
60,
is my
okay.
gut. This is my
Like
right now.
a second-round pick.
So a second-round pick, I mean, that guy, okay. That's
Second-ish.
Second-ish. So second, maybe early third.
Yes. I mean, we don't know,
Interesting.
what's Nussmeier going to look like next week at the Senior Bowl? Where is he physically?
Right.
Where is Drew Aller physically in a couple of months? Who else emerges when you see this Illinois kid next week?
Right.
When you see Sawyer Robinson from Baylor, we don't know where these guys are going to end up. But somebody's going to draft them because there's just simply not enough.
Do you think whoever's the head coach has a impact on what they do with
Sure,
that?
it has to, right? He has to by title and by responsibility, by dynamics do it. But what kind of offense does he want to run, Gary?
Right.
And what are his feelings about you?
Yeah, that's another thing. That's a whole nother, this is tough because if Udinski and Shieldhouse don't call plays, what is their offense? What is their philosophy? We don't know.
Well, Shieldhouse was in college for multiple years and was in Shador's league for 1 year. I don't know that they played or not. We have to go look at that. But I can tell you last year in the draft process that Shieldhouse was looking at Shador because the Rams have been in the business. Like, they know Matt Stafford is no guarantee to play beyond this Sunday.
Right,
they hope he comes back. They gave him a contract, right? So there's some familiarity there. Jacksonville wasn't in the Shador business last year. Now, that doesn't mean that Udinski doesn't have a quick evaluation. And if you're hiring him, it's because of what he's done with Sam Darnold and what he helped do with Trevor Lawrence this year. But we'll see. So it's too early, but that's how I feel. Dillon Gabriel's going to Atlanta or the Raiders or something like that.
Yeah.
And Shador and Watson, because he has to be here, not because they want him to play. But then you have to bring in other competition. And maybe that's Mac Jones. Maybe it is Malik Willis. I'm not sold on those ideas, but right now we're all up. We don't have a head coach. So
you can't really dive into that too much until you know who the coach is.
You going to the Senior Bowl?
I am, yeah.
You seen the quarterbacks there?
Yes.
Is there anyone that intrigues you?
Garrett Nussmeier, very much so, because I thought he would be a first-round pick before he went out and got hurt and had a nightmare year.
Yeah.
And his offensive line was bad, and it wasn't there.
So. What are some of the names? Throw them out there.
It's Diego Pavia, it's Nussmeier, it's Altmaier from Illinois.
Sawyer Robinson from Baylor, Cole Payton from North Dakota State,
He's a lefty.
Taylon Green, that
Yes.
6'6" dude from Arkansas.
Yeah, he's probably
Oh.
a tight end, but
And they invited Carson Beck. They could have 7. He was invited.
yeah, and I think they'd probably invite Chambliss too if he
Yeah.
wanted to do it, but I don't know that we're going to have resolution on that.
You mentioned Nussmeier. I feel like we've been talking about him for a number of years.
Throw picks.
Do you think he could be a good pro?
I think he can, sure.
Yeah.
And I think every team has to investigate that. So going down there, he's the most interesting guy to the Browns. He and Casey Concepcion, the receiver from Texas A&M, who's mocked as a late first rounder.
Okay.
Or the guys there. But obviously, you're looking at all the offensive linemen, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nussmeier's big, right?
I believe so.
6'1".
Oh, that's it? I don't know why I imagined him big.
I believe I remember 6'1". Let me.
This is the thing. We're getting
Yeah.
real measurements on all these guys.
Yeah, that's true.
So when we go to the Senior Bowl, we get one day where we get to interview these guys. We get an hour and a half to get whoever. But the other times you have to be ready.
6'1", 205.
Right. Throughout the rest of the week, there's 2 to 7 opportunities, and you have to be ready. So I've done my homework, and I walk in that stadium, and the first thing I do is look down at the tunnel, and the first person out is Dylan Gabriel, and I immediately scratched him off the list because he was so small. And I never interviewed him, and I never wrote about him, and because I thought there's no way an AFC North team would take this.
Oh my God.
Let me start this.
I would like
He
to
can
have been
play
a
in the
fly
dome.
on the wall in your house when the Browns drafted Dylan
I was in the
Gabriel.
media room.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You must have been just lost your mind.
Sean King says this. I had him on the show the other day, and he said this, and it really. He keeps saying it, and I don't know. He pulling me along on this string a little bit. I asked him, receiver, offensive line, and he said, "Well, I'm not a big fan of moving tackles to guards if you that's what you need, and ain't it." He said, "Also, I'm not a big fan of overdrafted receivers in the top 10." He's like, it's the only place you can get premium talent for at a discount, bottom basement prices, and you take what's available. Now, if Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese,
Arvell Reese is going too.
if they sitting around just chilling, is there any world where the Browns would draft a defensive player over an offensive player with their first
There
pick?
can't be. There can't be. I can't say there's no world. Garrett.
I mean, because I saw him trade. I saw Mason Graham get. I said,
Right.
"What are we?"
This franchise for decades has been making the impossible possible.
Right. So,
But it's impossible.
okay. So we on record.
So the argument is offensive tackle versus wide receiver at 6. And to that, I say
Simpson?
offensive
Or a
tackle.
trade down, maybe.
Yeah. Right, but just a one-to-one.
Yeah,
argument.
yeah.
You would-
If you have a top 10 grade on a receiver, maybe, but I would lean tackle.
You would take Ty Simpson, that's it?
Right now, I don't know enough about Ty Simpson, but I don't think. But the problem with waiting until 24 is the Jets need one, the Steelers need one. Somebody's going to fall in love with the kid if he's any good at all. And again, making the impossible. Maybe he's not, and maybe he'll be the pick at 24.
I can't see.
Ty Simpson, I'll be like,
You like him? None of these guys who have
Ty
played as little as
Simpson
him have been
Ty
good.
Simpson-
No, let's be honest.
in
Ty
the middle
Simpson
of the
had a
season?
really good start. Until
Yeah.
October 20th, he was really good.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was.
He was cold.
I said he was the Heisman front runner, and
He was cold.
everybody in
Probably was at one
Columbus
point.
was, "Oh, I can't believe you said." I was like,
And
"Man,
then-
the dude is balling."
And then
And
he
then it
got-
just-
I mean, I don't-
he looks spooked out. He looks spooky. He looks scared. I was like,
I don't.
what
I know
happened?
there's not been a lot of guys that have played as little as him, but all the guys that have been total flops in the NFL.
Sure. And like I said, and that's the argument. And of course, now it
Yeah.
comes back around because it hasn't worked at first for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
If you really had a good system that you believe in, coach, quarterback coach, and veteran in front of him, that you could draft a guy and redshirt him and try to bring him along the right way. But the percentage that actually happens, Bull, and the percentage that it would happen here,
Oh my God!
right? The Browns should have drafted Josh Allen. It's the easiest thing to say.
Yeah.
Would the Browns have raised him the way the Bills did?
Probably not.
Drew Aller in the 4th round. I'm gonna keep saying.
Yeah, he loves Drew Aller. Do you like him?
Based on everything I saw, there's no way to like him. But
I'm about to say,
but there's a lot of people that feel the way that Tyvis does. That
he
someone's
has
going
all
to
the
take a chance.
intangibles. He needs to be taught the game. That's what. And these two geniuses.
His
that
big
they're
game
thinking
performances
about-
over 3 years were just awful.
I mean, it's like I can't even find nothing to like.
Yeah, it's
You're
not
the only one that wants.
It's not good. But he's got a big arm and he's 6'5".
Let me-
And in the AFC outside in the North, you need
It's
those.
not going to be
things.
outside for long.
I
That's
think-
true too. And he'd be even better on indoor.
Oh, they'll be on 4 more guys by the time that dome
true.
opens.
The most intriguing storyline in the entire NFL is going to be Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson training camp.
Yes, it is.
We have
Well, Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, and maybe another guy.
right.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson.
Maybe two more guys.
We have not heard
You need 4.
or talked to Deshaun Watson in years.
Correct.
What do you expect that atmosphere to be like when he is actually out, available, playing? What is it?
Imagine being the first-year head coach of the Browns, and you have to play Deshaun Watson, and you go to a home game, and your starting quarterback's going to get booed.
You think
This is what they. Yes, I know
It
he
could be
would.
motivational.
It could be.
It's like, you know what? They gonna boo you, but we gonna get you back right.
You
go out there and throw you 2 touchdowns. And throw
You
for
can't
250.
start Deshaun. You can't do it.
But they can. You're right, but
Yeah.
they can.
That's what I'm saying to you. Look, you already know who I would start Shedeur Sanders. I think that was.
I agree.
I'm starting him but the fact that Deshaun Watson is there, he's not bad enough. Like, he's not going to be that bad where he's not going to be the backup quarterback.
You're right.
yeah.
You're probably right,
Yeah.
Garrett. Like, we don't know where it's going to be, right? Deshaun could be 1, Deshaun could be 3. I think ideally you want Deshaun to be 3B, your last choice to
Yeah.
actually play, right? And Shedeur probably is 1A or 1. He's almost certainly 1A or 1B as long as he's on the team, and there's a 90% chance he's going to be on the team, right? So who is in that middle, and what is your plan? I'm totally with you. Shedeur probably gets the first snap in May. He probably gets the first snap in July. He's probably slated for the first snap in September. Who's next? How does it go? We don't know these things. History says it could go a number of different ways.
I mean, you got to understand. And for me, I just want to hear him say.
You need to see the clips.
No.
Do we still got the clips of Deshaun and Tag Boy?
Because they're going to ask him. I know they're going to ask him. Here's the number one question. Deshaun, do you think you still a starting quarterback?
Absolutely.
Deshaun, do you feel like you lost this job because you were injured?
He gonna say absolutely.
Deshaun, why weren't you taking your rehab seriously and you had your boot off when you had torn Achilles?
Now, they won't ask that
They
question.
gonna ask that question.
But it's going to be interesting. We haven't heard from him. We'll see how it is. And I do want to see how
He handles
fans react to
You
him.
know how they go.
He's going to get booed.
100%.
Look, I don't listen.
Unless he plays great, and then some people will come around.
Well, the dynamic is there's a person in front of him that seems to absorb a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's not as much vitriol if you got somebody in front of you taking up all that spotlight.
Well, the ideal scenario that we can all agree on is that if Shedeur's the guy, that he's just the guy, and he plays. And
Right.
He plays almost all the year. And
Yeah.
now, if it goes poorly for the team or him,
Yeah.
but you don't
Yeah.
want to be making that on October 1st like they did this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you
Right,
don't want
right,
it to be
right.
forced by some injury or some other circumstance. If you make Shedeur the guy, you want him to play until you get a full evaluation. And obviously the ideal scenario is that he becomes your starter. Now you're onto something. If he doesn't, but you don't want to have to go to Deshaun. You want to be able to go to that next guy. I just think from a dynamic standpoint, there is no way that your room can be Shedeur, Gabriel, and Watson.
No, there's no way it can be the same.
Shedeur Sanders got to go back to that too.
If they aggressively pursue Mac Jones or Malik Willis, does that mean they don't legitimately believe Shedeur Sanders is good enough to be the starter, or does it mean we need an option in case he's not, or in case he's just not really not ready?
It certainly means the first, but they could massage it a bunch of different ways. And you could just say, look, this was always our developmental guy. We never intended for him to start 7 games last year, which is quite obvious. They wouldn't give him a snap in practice.
Right.
So then you say he can develop. And that's what it comes down to for Shedeur. He's got a huge 5-6 months ahead in terms of getting with that coach, getting in the weight room, doing all those things, learning from the good and the bad, because they were both.
Yeah.
In almost every game, there was good. The Chicago one is the one exception.
Yeah.
And then there was a bad, especially at the end. And you can easily say, well, he didn't have much help because he didn't. So developmental quarterback, the Browns have him. They should continue to invest and develop him. And what he becomes, I think, is fairly wide open.
Everybody in there should be thinking of it as a fresh start. You got an opportunity. I think it's pivotal. Like, whatever new coach you got to come in, listen, I don't care. You got to live at his house.
Yeah.
Give me the playbook. Forget OTAs. I need to be with you today. He needs somebody to be an advocate.
Last August, Shedeur was never more than 3 feet away from Tommy Reese, who's gone, Musgrave, who's not going to be back, and Joe Flacco, who's been gone since last October. So who's he going to be 3 feet? We don't know yet.
Right, don't know.
We might know in a week. We might not. But that's what it's got to be, and they have to get him to before they can make any decisions, let alone let him get out there and try to get better.
Is Myles Garrett in for a rebuild? Because he said that's not
This is another question. But this is what they've done. If Deshaun's on the team, it's because he has to be, because they don't have any offensive linemen or receivers or anything else. And if Myles Garrett, when he signed that contract, like, you could trade him, but you really can't afford it on the cap.
Yeah.
So you need the best version of Myles Garrett, the locked in that you got for last year. What's he going to be? I don't know. And we can't take him for his word, because everything he said last year at this time didn't come true.
Right. And he knew what he knew what he was getting into. He knew they weren't going to be good.
100%.
You know,
He took the money.
I think he already. Listen, if anything, the sack record should hold him over a little bit. Right? Like, he should. I got the sack record. I got a bag of money. I got a beautiful girlfriend.
Just keep playing great.
Let me just do some weights.
You're right. You're right.
He's
on
got
a
a beautiful girlfriend. I haven't seen his girlfriend.
But what if they hire a coach who's younger than him, which Grant Udinski is, and don't have Jim Schwartz back as defensive coordinator? Doesn't that set the stage?
No, that's Schwartz. That Schwartz move is that's the only. I think it can go left if Schwartz is not.
Yeah, and right now we're in the ifs.
Here we are. Would you prefer Udinski over Schwartz if those are the two guys head to head?
Would I prefer? I don't.
I
probably because I think what's best for the team in terms of getting to respectability, which they're not near right now, is hiring a young offensive coach, letting him grow, and really targeting 27 as completing or taking the real next step in what has to be an offensive rebuild. And then if you hire this guy who's 30 or 35, who's worked in the NFL for 2 years or for 5 years, letting him grow into the role and saying realistically we are more than one off season away.